The wind was dry that evening, the kind that carries the scent of tired horses and old regrets. The sun had just begun to drown behind the western hills, turning the sky into a burning orange sea. And there he was, Jake Dawson, the cowboy who once ruled over 1,200 acres of open land, now standing beside a broken fence, staring at a dying ranch. Life had been unfair to Jake. His cattle had been stolen. The drought had eaten the fields, and the few hands he trusted had left when times turned bitter. There was a time when laughter filled these barns, when the smell of hay mixed with hope, but now only silence walked beside him. Jake was a proud man, a man who'd rather starve than beg for help. But that evening fate rode into his life in the shape of a stranger. She came walking through the dust, barefoot, quiet, her dark hair braided in the Apache way, her eyes calm but sharp like a hawk's. For a moment, Jake thought she was a mirage born from hunger and sun. But no, she was real. The girl stopped near the old water trough, touched the dry earth and said softly, "The land's crying for rain." Jake looked at her, half suspicious, half surprised. "You lost, miss?" he asked, wiping sweat from his brow. She shook her head. "No, cowboy. I'm looking for work." He almost laughed. "Work? There's nothing left here but dust and broken dreams." But the girl just smiled, calm and confident. "Then maybe that's where I belong." That was the first day Jake met Aluna, the Apache girl who would change everything. She worked without asking, fixing fences, calming the horses, feeding the chickens that hadn't laid eggs in months. Jake didn't know where she got her strength. Every morning before sunrise, she was already out in the field. And every evening, she sat quietly by the fire, whispering something in her native tongue, maybe to the wind, maybe to her ancestors. At first, Jake kept his distance, but day after day, he watched her heal the land piece by piece. One morning, he found her standing in the middle of the field, her hands covered in dirt, planting new seeds. He said, "Those won't grow, not in this cursed soil." She looked up at him with those deep brown eyes and said, "Land remembers kindness, cowboy. You just have to remind it how to live again." Something inside Jake softened. For years, he'd cursed his luck, blamed the heavens, and forgotten how to believe. But this girl, this stranger from the Apache hills, had come with nothing but belief in her heart. Weeks passed. The ranch began to breathe again. A few cows returned. Grass started to show along the fence lines. And Jake found himself talking again, really talking, about his father, his mother, his dreams. Aluna listened like someone who'd known pain too, but carried it gracefully. One evening, when thunder rolled over the horizon and the scent of rain filled the air, Jake stood beside her under the porch. "Why are you really here, Aluna?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer for a long time. Then she said, "Because I saw a man ready to give up on life, and I couldn't let that happen. My people believe when a soul's light starts fading, another soul is sent to guide it back." That night the rain finally came, heavy, cleansing, endless. Jake stepped out into it, feeling it wash years of pain away. He looked at Aluna, standing there in the rain, her face turned to the sky, smiling like she had just won a war. Something broke inside him that night, the wall he'd built around his heart. He didn't say it aloud, but deep inside, he knew this girl had saved more than his land. She'd saved him. As the storm raged across the valley, Jake whispered under his breath, "Maybe God didn't forget me after all." And from that day forward, whenever the sun rose over Dawson Ranch, it didn't rise on a broken man anymore. It rose on hope, carried by the spirit of an Apache girl and the heart of a cowboy learning to live again. But destiny wasn't done yet. The peace that had just begun to bloom was about to be tested in ways neither of them could imagine.